Hi, I'm Nathan Kaufman. I'm a New York City tour guide, and I'm here to show you some of my favorite aspects of this great city. Today, we're talking about Greenwich Village. The Village has a very bohemian reputation. The neighborhood's name is synonymous with the folk music movement, the Beat Generation, not to mention the pivotal role it plays in the LGBT movement. And there still is a thriving art community here. Very liberal mentalities and dynamic points of view, but things have shifted a whole lot in the past few decades since real estate prices have soared. But it wasn't always like this. The name Greenwich comes from the Dutch word Greenwich, meaning green territory. The Dutch were the first Europeans to create a settlement on Manhattan. In the early 1600s, they called it New Amsterdam. When the English showed up in 1664, they anglicized Greenwich to Greenwich. We call this the Village because it was actually a tiny village set up outside of New York City to help escape from the yellow fever epidemics of the late 1700s. So this used to be very rural, a lot of farmland, a lot of space. Christopher Park is now on the location of what was once a tobacco farm. A New Yorker might come up here at one time to hunt or picnic. A little bit of a different feel these days. The Church of St. Luke in the Fields is aptly named, as it was once a tiny chapel set up in the midst of some relatively vast fields back in 1820. Anyone who visits Greenwich Village will immediately notice how different the streets look and feel compared to the gridded street plan found further uptown. Here, we follow a much more organic layout of streets established by the first settlers here in the village. That contrast might be the clearest here on the corner of 7th Avenue and Christopher Street. Starting in the 1910s, the city wanted to expand 7th Avenue. They wanted to make it wider and go all the way downtown. But in order to do this, the city had to exercise its power of eminent domain. Hundreds of buildings in this area were destroyed, and by a fluke, one piece of property remained behind. This piece of property was owned by a man named David Hess, and the city asked for Hess to donate this piece of property to the city. But in an act of defiance, Hess refused, and it's still here today, and it can be found right underneath our feet. Property of the Hess estate, which has never been dedicated for public purposes. It's the average size of a New York apartment. And we would technically be trespassing, as this was the smallest piece of private property in New York City until it was bought up by Village Cigars in 1938 for $1,000. That's $2 per square inch. And when you look closely at some of the buildings, you can see how the city actually cut away portions of the structures to allow for 7th Avenue to pass through. Here in New York City, our stories are on our streets and on our walls, and you can find them if you've got the right person to show you. I hope you've enjoyed this exploration of Greenwich Village. I'm Nathan Kaufman. I'll see you next time.